"You killed my son. I always knew it would end like this." The scream of her former mother-in-law still echoed in Lena's mind. She woke with a start, looking around until reality grounded her once again behind cold iron bars. Yet tomorrow, she would walk free, released on parole for good behavior. It was still early, just 5 in the morning. Lena loved waking up before dawn, savoring these rare moments where she could almost pretend she was free. She forbade herself from thinking about the terrible chain of events that had brought her here. She knew that way lay madness, and now she needed all her strength. Out there, in the world beyond these walls, her daughter Kelsey, sweet, only 11, was waiting. Living with Lena's mother, clinging to a thread of normalcy. The lawyer had succeeded in proving that Lena had pushed her husband in self-defense. She served her sentence, 6 months short of 2 years. Yet none of it mattered anymore. The truth weighed silently in her heart. She hadn't killed her husband at all. But there would be time to right these wrongs later, once she could work, once she could earn a living again. One battle at a time. She had achieved her first goal, surviving prison with her body and soul intact, earning her early release. "Hey, businesswoman, up early again?" came the familiar voice of Olga, a tough, coffee-loving brunette with strong features and a sharper tongue. At first, Olga had tried to break Lena down, mocking her nickname, businesswoman, because Lena, before her fall, had once owned an entire chain of city cafes, featured in glossy magazines. Olga was unimpressed, but it didn't take long for her to realize that the tall, slender blonde with calm brown eyes had grown up in a village and knew how to stand her ground, not just with words, but fists if necessary. In rare quiet moments, Lena allowed herself to wonder about her mother and Kelsey back home. How were they managing without her? It was her fault after all. She should have prepared for disaster, hidden away a secret fund. But who could have predicted the night Oleg would be waiting at home, waiting with rage and a knife? "I've told you 100 times, Lena said, her voice almost mechanical now, dulled by repetition. "I didn't push him. I defended myself." "You sure you weren't under something? Rich folks can get into all kinds of things," Olga challenged. A former nurse and caregiver who ended up here after selling illicit medical drugs on the side, Olga had a cynical view of the world. "I suffered enough from a drunk father growing up," Lena snapped quietly. "I swore I'd never touch anything mind-altering." Strangely, that argument, repeated so many times, began to strip away the businesswoman shell Lena had built around herself in prison. And somehow, she didn't mind. Money came and went easily enough, but trust, dignity, those were harder to rebuild. Later, Lena would face the mystery of her husband's death again. But first things first, survival, dignity, freedom. "Don't worry," Olga said, her pale gray eyes unusually gentle. "I'm getting out too, a month from now. If you want to stay in touch." Lena smiled. "I don't change my mind easily. No need to look at me like that." She was genuinely grateful to Olga for challenging her when she needed it, distracting her from the battles raging inside her mind. Olga understood loneliness because she had lived it. Tomorrow would be a new chapter for both of them. Lena had made a choice. She hadn't told her mother or daughter that today was the day she would walk free. She wanted to surprise them, to come home strong, not broken. Quietly, she sold the expensive wristwatch they had returned to her upon her release, the very one she had been wearing that terrible night. No regrets, just the determination to start over. The dress they had given her upon release, a relic of her past luxury, would serve its purpose one last time. Lena took the bus to the nearest city with a single goal in mind: to sell the watch properly. Not at some cheap pawn shop for pennies, but at a respectable boutique dealing in Swiss timepieces. She walked into the brightly lit store with mirrored marble floors, slipping effortlessly into the role of her former self, Elena Ivanovna, the woman everyone once wanted to impress. "I'm tired of this watch," she said casually, giving the clerk a cool, disapproving glance, as though she'd simply grown bored of yet another trinket. "Of course, ma'am," the tall employee replied smoothly. "We also have a pawn shop for used watches next door. May I offer you some coffee while you browse the new models?" "Quickly then," Lena said, with a languid sigh, sipping from the delicate porcelain cup and flipping through the catalogue, pretending to be unimpressed. She was careful not to overplay it. Everything needed to seem natural. The perfume she had sprayed on herself earlier masked any traces of fear or poverty. When they made their offer, 300,000 rubles, citing a scratch on the bracelet, her heart sank. It was a fortune, enough to start fresh, but Lena knew better. The watch was worth at least 500,000. She stiffened her spine and said coldly, "Give me back my watch. I'll find a more professional store." Inside, she trembled, but prison had taught her to fight for every inch, every ruble, especially for her mother and daughter. 10 minutes later, the sheepish employee returned, offering 520,000 rubles in cash, apologizing profusely. Lena took the money with a calm smile, hiding the fierce triumph blazing inside her. With a new, simple dress and sneakers bought for mere pennies, she felt reborn. No more shadows of the past hanging off her. She boarded the train to her village looking like any ordinary woman, invisible, exactly as she wanted. 2 hours later, as evening fell, she reached the bus station. Exhausted, thirsty, she hesitated by the ticket booth. Then an old Romani woman's desperate voice broke through the haze. "Please, good people, just 20 rubles short. Help me. I need to get home." The crowd turned on her instantly. Cruel words, suspicious glares. Lena's chest tightened. She stepped forward, slicing through the jeers with a glare that silenced everyone. "I'll buy your ticket," she said firmly. "Let's all calm down." The Romani woman, her face lined with despair, thanked her and clutched the ticket like a lifeline. Lena wasn't even surprised when the woman revealed she was heading to the same village. Experience had taught Lena to be cautious, but something inside her whispered, this one was different. As they rode the bus together, the woman offered her tea from a battered thermos and a small pastry. Lena, hungry and parched, accepted gratefully. "You haven't eaten all day," the woman said knowingly. "Give me your hand. Let me see what fate has written for you." Curious and oddly trusting, Lena extended her palm. The Romani stared intently for a long moment before speaking in a low, urgent voice. "You're not guilty. It was a wicked woman who set you up. Your mother-in-law, she killed her son." Lena froze, her blood running cold. How could this woman possibly know? "And soon," the Romani added, "a good woman will help you. In about a month. Don't fear, everything will turn out right." As the bus neared a dark stretch of forest, the woman asked to be let off. The driver protested. There was nothing out there but trees and emptiness, but she insisted, stepping off and disappearing into the shadows without another word. Lena sat in stunned silence, clutching her backpack and the precious fortune it held closer to her chest. If you're feeling the emotions of Lena's journey, stay with me. There's much more her story has to reveal. Back at home, Lena faced a new, harsh reality. The house was falling apart, the roof leaking so badly that puddles formed after every rain. "Mom," Lena said gently, "we can't live like this. We'll have to rent a place in the nearby village, at least until we can fix this disaster." "But we have no money left, Lena," her mother said, wringing her hands. "Semyon said he'll come this weekend and fix the roof for free. Remember him." Of course she remembered. Semyon, the boy with the freckled face and kind eyes, who once stood between her and her violent father. They had been sweethearts once, until the letters stopped coming after he left for the army and Lena's heart had broken. "Let him help," her mother pleaded. "Without Semyon and his mother, we wouldn't have survived here." Lena nodded, swallowing the bitterness of old wounds. "All right, Mom. You do what you think is best. I'll look for work. I heard the cafe in the next village needs a cook." With her hands, her skills, and her determination, she would rebuild. Slowly, but surely. Semyon kept his word. He patched the roof and shyly confessed something that left Lena speechless. "I never stopped loving you," he said. "I never wrote that letter ending things. Someone must have done it, probably Oleg." He offered to fund a graphological analysis to prove it, but Lena waved him off. "It doesn't matter anymore, Semyon," she said, her voice soft. "I'm a single mother now, 33 years old. We can't turn back time." "You're still young, Lena," he whispered. "Don't carry your burdens alone." Something warm, something almost forgotten, stirred in her heart. Life didn't get easier overnight. The cafe owner was greedy, forcing her to work long hours for meager pay. But Lena was no stranger to hard work. She had her mother, her daughter, and a secret reserve of cash tucked safely away, untouched, unless absolutely necessary. The days blurred into one another until, one morning, she woke before dawn. Restless, uneasy. An unfamiliar rumble echoed down the quiet village street. Peering outside, Lena saw 3 sleek, expensive cars rolling to a stop. Panic seized her. What if Oleg's former competitors had found her? What if they meant to silence her for good? But Lena stood her ground. She had too much to lose to run now. The car doors opened. To her shock, out stepped the old Romani woman, and beside her, Olga, her former cellmate, dressed in luxury from head to toe. Lena's legs nearly buckled. "Olga, is that really you?" "Of course," Olga laughed, wrapping her in a warm hug. "What, you don't recognize me with a few pounds more and a bit of designer clothing?" Still dazed, Lena climbed into the car, trusting her instincts once more. "Let's talk," Olga said. "There's something you need to know." If you're moved by Lena's incredible resilience, stay close. Her real victory is just beginning. Inside the car, the pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place. Olga smiled gently. "That woman you met, the gypsy, she's not a fortune teller. She's an employee of my father's security team, Maria Petrovna. I needed you to trust her, so we set it up carefully." "Your father?" Lena blinked, confused. "But you said you were just a nurse." Olga laughed softly, a little sadly. "I was. I left home after a huge fight with my father. Stubborn pride, stupid mistakes. He said I'd be lost without his support and education. I was determined to prove him wrong. But eventually, I realized he was right about some things. And now, well, he helped me straighten out my life again." Lena listened in stunned silence as Olga confessed how her wealthy, well-connected father had quietly hired private investigators to uncover the real truth behind Lena's downfall. It turned out her mother-in-law, bitter, greedy, twisted by envy, had collaborated with Lena's competitors. Together, they conspired to ruin Lena's life and seize her business empire. The investigators legally recorded a conversation where the mother-in-law, gloating over her victory, admitted everything, poisoning Oleg with mind-altering substances, manipulating him into madness, and finally, when he hesitated to jump, pushing him to his death herself. All the while, she believed she was safe, that Lena would rot quietly behind bars. Olga's team had everything ready: documents, witness statements, recordings. "We just need your signature," Olga said softly, "to authorize the private investigation formally. Then the real criminals will finally pay for what they did." Overwhelmed with gratitude, Lena's eyes filled with tears she refused to shed. "You treated me like a human being when I needed it most," Olga said simply. "Now, I'm just returning the favor." And so a strange and beautiful alliance was born. They returned to Lena's modest home, where her mother served tea with trembling hands, too overwhelmed to speak. Rumors in the village spread like wildfire, tongues wagging with resentment and envy. "She must have lied," they muttered. "She never really went to prison. Look how rich she is now." But Lena didn't care. The truth, real and shining, was finally hers. 2 years later, Lena and Semyon married quietly under the flowering trees behind their little house. By then, Lena had reclaimed much of what she had lost, and even more. The mother-in-law and the traitorous competitors were serving long, well-deserved prison sentences. Justice had prevailed. Lena decided to use her restored fortune not just for herself, but for her community. She expanded her cafe business and started a farm in the village, offering fresh, honest products and honest jobs to the people who needed them most. Life, at last, had come full circle. And there, by Semyon's side, cradling the secret of a new life growing within her, a little brother for Kelsey, who had already chosen the perfect name, Lena finally felt whole again. She had been broken, betrayed, abandoned, but she had risen, stronger, wiser, unbreakable. And if you felt touched by Lena's incredible journey of survival, strength, and redemption, I'd love for you to support this story with a warm thumbs up. Your encouragement helps bring more stories like this to life. Also, if you're curious about a fascinating recent discovery, a natural purple shell that scientists say can triple fat burning during sleep without extreme diets or intense workouts, make sure to check the description of this video. The details might surprise you and could be exactly the gentle, natural help you've been looking for.